every psychologist has a theory. And I like to mix this with the person-oriented and the task orientation, and I think this does that a little bit. So in the center is the democratic leader, okay? And the autocratic leader is at the far left side, and laissez-faire runs way over here. Okay? Now, I suppose the question you want to ask yourself is, where do I fall? And how does that happen? And I kind of like this little thing because it takes care of what you're talking about, saying that there are forces outside that impact. So you may be a person-oriented person, but because of the situation or the forces that are impinging on you, you don't have time to ask everybody what they think. Does that make sense? So so this little diagram does that pretty well for me. Okay, now talk with me a minute about the development of the museum. Just as a case study, and tell me what you think about leadership styles and how this place was developed. So let's start in 1959. Okay? So, Victoria, here's your thing. Here's your thing. Right from the newspaper. Whoop! Flash! Okay? West Benton County to organize associate branch of the Benton County Historical Society. You see, there was a historical society, but it was, Kennewick! And so it was all of Benton County. You know, Kennewick and Prosser have been fighting over who's going to be the county seat and what things are about since the county seat in the early 1900s was put in Prosser. It was a big battle at that time, and it's still a big thing. Should we say a prayer to our judge that's gone? Anyway. Okay, so they have this meeting in 1959, and they're pioneers. Before that, it was the Pioneer Association, and it got hooked with the Benton County Historical Society, and then the Benton County Historical Society was going to split into East and West. So they had one president, but they were going to have an East Vice President and a West Vice President. Obviously, ours was going to be the West Vice President. And what it did is it really spun into one historical society, which represented Prosser and Prosser's. So here's the historical society. It's the old timers. It's people that came to Prosser, like Harry Fisher, like some of the homesteaders from Rattlesnake, like some of the homesteaders from Horseheaven, like some of the people that came to Prosser in the early to mid 1900s. Those guys made up the historical society. And what kinds of things did they do? They had pinochle parties. Historical Association has trip to Fort Simcoe. Fort Simcoe. White Swan. You know Fort Simcoe?
I was just there.
You were just there. It's changed a lot. Nice place, huh?
Oh, that was my first time there.
Was that your first time there? Interesting?
Yeah, it was interesting.